Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome to today's Wild Rift video. This video we're going to be taking a look at the first look for Wild Rift patch 4.3c. As you can tell, my layout, my headset, my voice and everything's a little bit different. That's because I'm out on holiday at the moment, but I still brought my laptop with me. I still brought a little bit of my setup with me because I knew there would be a new patch for this week, so I wanted to showcase it to you all, let you know my thoughts. This is quite a big patch as well. There's quite a lot of changes. There's 2 pages we're going to go through in total. One is going to be the nerfs and one is going to be the buffs. Hopefully all the audio levels and everything are okay. I tried to balance it out and make sure that it was all okay. If there are a few issues here and there, then I apologize. But obviously, as I said, I'm in a different country. I'm in a different setup and everything as well. So it is a little bit difficult, but we're still making do. Hopefully, you'll still be able to get my opinions across from these changes. First change is Vladimir. Vladimir, ever since he got released, I think has been really, really strong, both in the mid lane and also in the solo lane. He just pretty much just unstoppable, to be fair, because he has so much healing, he has so much damage as well. Pretty much as like 2 or 3 items, he becomes unkillable because you become untargetable with your second ability. You charge up a lot of damage with your third ability. You have so much healing with your first ability and also your ultimate. So they're tuning Vladimir down a little bit. You can see here the first ability, the Crimson Rush version, which is the empowered version of the first ability. So after you use your first ability 2 times, you can see that the base level is staying the same. The level, so the timesing by the level is being slightly nerfed, and also the ability power percentage is being slightly nerfed. So just a little bit of a nerf overall, mainly to the scaling of this ability with both the ability power and also the level times 12, which is now going to be the level times 10. So again, it's more of the scaling with Vladimir. When it gets to that point of when you get 3 or 4 items with Vladimir, he becomes pretty much unstoppable. So they're nerfing that down ever so slightly. Second ability as well, the damage. To be fair, this ability should never have a lot of damage at all. I'm very surprised with how much damage this second ability actually does, because most of the time with Vladimir, you keep your second ability to dodge skill shots or to try and reposition in team fights or try and guarantee that you're going to hit your third ability damage. But in Wild Rift, it seems like your second ability does a lot more damage than what it needs to, and you use it as more of an extra damage source to try and kill enemy champions. So you can see there the base damage is staying the same, but they're just reducing the percentage maximum health of the second ability damage. So not really anything too crazy in terms of damage there. As I said, I don't think this ability should be doing that much damage in the first place because it's more of a defensive tool than anything else. But hey, there you go. The third ability, again, the damage is being lowered. The base value is getting a little bit of a nerf. It looks like 10 at every level, 10 at every rank is getting nerfed. The ability power ratio is going down by 5%, and also the maximum health ratio is also going down by 0.5%. So just nerfs across the board to both base ability power and maximum health. Obviously, if you don't know, with Vladimir, with his passive, if you buy ability power, you get maximum health. If you buy maximum health, you get ability power. So Vladimir scales a lot with both maximum health and ability power. So this is actually going to nerf his damage quite a bit. Ornn, he's still super strong in the Baron lane, still one of the best Baron lane champions. Even though he's supposed to be a tank, he still does a lot of damage. He has a lot of crowd control and everything else. So Ornn is getting a nerf. First to his passive, the bonus health, armor, and magic resist ratio going down, especially in the later stages of the game. The early game is not too bad, so you're still 7%, but then it goes down to 12%, 17%, and then 22%. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. I was just making sure that my recording is all okay. Yep, we're all good. So yeah, the percentage of the bonus health, armor, and magic resist that you get is pretty big. This is basically when you get defensive items, you get bonuses on top of that, so that is really, really nice. The brittle damage on the second ability is also going down. It's now down to 20% of your maximum health instead of 24%, and the minimum damage to minions has also been lowered, so that's also going to stop his pushing power ever so slightly, because he does quite a lot of damage to minions. But the big thing is the damage of the second ability, which has been lowered. The brittle damage, this basically can get procced like 3 or 4 times during a team fight, and also his tankiness has been nerfed. So a little bit nerfs here and there. I don't think Ornn is going to be hit that much. I still think Ornn will be just as good. I don't think he's going to be really hit too much, but we'll have to see with that one. Annie, this is the big nerf coming in for this patch. Obviously, Annie received a rework, or a little mini rework, you can say, especially with Tibbers, her ultimates, and also her third ability got a bit of a change, but she's been a little bit too strong. I think she's just really easy to play. You know, point and click CC on her ultimate, point and click pretty much CC. Oh, actually, no, it's not really point and click CC. It's more of a skill shot CC with her passive, crowd control of her passive, but still really, really easy to hit. And when you're stacking the crowd control on top of each other over and over again, and also the burst damage that Annie can do, it's just really difficult to play against. Even, you know, things like Quicksilver is very difficult to kind of time Quicksilver correctly to counter Annie. You can see here the stun time of the passive is being lowered by 0.25 seconds at every single rank. The base damage of the first ability is getting lowered more at the later stages of the game. So again, trying to stop her doing so much damage in terms of her one-shot potential in the later stages of the game. Cooldown of her third ability is going up. It's staying at 14 seconds at every single rank instead of going from 14, 13, 12, 11. The base shield is also getting lowered at the later stages of the game, and the bonus at movement speed is going down, wow, across the board. 10% movement speed nerf across the board on Annie's third ability. It was quite easy with Annie's third ability to use it and also get the extra movement speed, not only for yourself, but also Tibbers. So Tibbers can do a little bit more damage, but it's also really easy to just use your third ability, get your movement speed, and obviously it doesn't take a stack of your passive, so it doesn't take that stun away. So use your third ability, get that crazy amount of movement speed, get into range to use Tibbers, land a stun, which guarantees your damage on both your first ability and your second ability, and then your second Tibbers damage afterward with the knock up. It's just really, really easy to just use that combo effectively and use it really, really well. And also the ultimate. So the damage on the first release has been nerfed. The AP ratios are not being nerfed on the first release. It's just the base damage. Again, mainly at late stages. It looks like they're pretty much hurting most of Annie's late game. Early game numbers are not being nerfed too much. It's more of the late game numbers. So trying to stop her one-shotting everyone across the whole map, I guess. Damage on second release, which is obviously the new thing with Tibbers now jumping onto enemy champions, that has also been nerfed, and also been nerfed with the ability power ratio. And also the cast range of pounce has also been reduced by 100. So you can't, get Tibbers to get Tibbers to pounce from, a million miles away. That's now going to be nerfed by 100 units, which is quite a big nerf. So yeah, pretty big overall. It's about what's over 10% nerf on the on Annie's cast range for her pounce. Yeah, overall, really big nerfs for Annie. She's definitely going to go lower in terms of the tier list because Annie's not really a great champion overall. It wasn't a great champion overall before. It's just because of its rework, it's become really easy to stack your crowd control, stack your damage, get a lot of burst damage in late game, and pretty much just one-shot anyone. But I think with these nerfs, she's definitely going to be lower in power. Not too sure if it means she's going to go down in the tier list or anything like that. We'll have to wait and see. Vayne surprisingly getting a nerf. I know that I think a lot of people have been saying that Vayne is pretty slept on. I think the thing is with Vayne overall is that her laning phase is still really weak. Well, no, I say really weak. I'd say mainly weak because of her low range. She doesn't really do too much in the laning phase. She can just tumble, do a little bit of damage here and there, but doesn't really do too much in terms of kill pressure. And when you're giving up the laning phase, sometimes that could be such a big thing in Wild Rift with how quick the games are in general. But I guess with Vayne, you can just farm quite easily. You can just sit back, relax, farm, get that passive goal, get the passive experience, and then it becomes a point where late game Vayne comes online and pretty much becomes unkillable. So the attack speed per level is going down, so hitting mainly the late game point that I was talking about with Vayne, where you're just playing passive and you just wait until you get your items. So the attack speed per level is going down. Bonus move speed towards enemy champions is also going down a lot in the later stages of the game with the passive. By 10 in total, so 5 and then 10 in the late game. So making sure she doesn't get that crazy extra bit of movement speed, which I'm pretty sure her ultimate gives her extra movement speed as well, if I'm not mistaken. So I think she'll still be okay with that. And then the condemned cooldown is going up in the early game, just making sure that you can maybe, get a few more ganks off in the early game. Because a big thing with Vayne as well is that if she does get ganked, you could just use her third ability to knock junglers away and just stop the gank in general. Or you can try and make plays in the early game as well. So just increasing that cooldown means that you have to be more decisive and actually know when to use your third ability and try not to waste it when possible. Jin also getting a nerf. I mean, Jin has been very strong for quite some time now. Whether you use Fleet Footwork, whether you use First Strike, Jin has been very strong. So I'm not really surprised at Jin's nerf. I'm more surprised that Vayne is nerfed than anything else. Jin nerf is no surprise. Vayne nerf is very surprising to me, that they put like Jin and Vayne on the same level. Quite surprising overall. But you can see here the passive, the bonus damage of the last bullet, which is the fourth shot of Jin, that is being lowered. So you can see here. So the percentage before was 14%. Jin's numbers is always very confusing. So it's 14% plus your level times 1%. Reached the upper limit of 25% on level 11 health lost. Okay. So it seems that after a level, I've never really read the numbers, like this before, because they've never really shown the numbers or anything like that. So I'm trying to understand it myself. So basically, the well, I say the base damage, the base number is going down by 4%. You're still timesing the level by 1%, but you reach the upper limit of 25% at level 15 now instead of level 11. So I'm guessing this is an extra 25% damage boost that you get at level 11, which helps with the scaling of Jin. But now you're not going to hit this until level 15. Obviously, this health loss basically means the more health that the enemy champion has, or the less health, sorry, the enemy champions have, the more damage you will be dealing. So it's basically to do with that. So just overall damage nerf overall to the fourth shot of Jin, which is obviously going to be pretty big for him because his fourth shot is one of his main damage sources for him. And then the second ability also the base damage is going okay, it's going up and then staying the same and then going down and down. So again, trying to nerf late game Jin, and also doesn't scale as much with attack damage. So a little bit more damage in the early game, which most of the time you'll be at this 60 mark anyway, in this 50 and 60 mark, which is not too bad. And I guess when you level it a few times, you're going to be probably feeling the nerf, especially because it's a 20 base damage nerf and also a 10% attack damage nerf. So some pretty big numbers here that Jin's getting nerfed by. Again, the big thing is fourth shot. This bonus damage here on the last bullet is a pretty big nerf. So you're not going to be able to walk up for free with Jin. Use your fourth shot. Maybe there's some other champions that can maybe trade a lot more easier into him now with that. Now onto the buffs. Now if I did this correctly, this should do this. There we go, and then the buffs come up. This was a little bit difficult for me to do because for some reason my OBS was not correctly doing that. There we go. Okay, cool. We're all good. Now on to buffs. Some of these buffs are actually quite interesting, especially the Lee Sin one, because Lee Sin only got buffed in the most recent patch in 4.3b. Now it's getting buffed again. Also Samira getting buffed again, which is pretty nice. But there's some love here for some of these champions that don't really get that much love. Tryndamere. I think Tryndamere is like okay. I think the problem with Tryndamere is that he can get kited very easily and he can get crowd controlled very easily. And in a very crowd control heavy meta, it's very difficult to kind of pull off a win with Tryndamere at the moment. So they're buffing Tryndamere, Bloodlust, the first ability. Every point of fury brings bonus regeneration. So with the first ability, obviously that's the healing ability with Tryndamere. So they're just buffing it up a little bit. So the more fury you have, the more healing you're going to get now. It's gone up by 0.3 per level, which is quite nice. And then the second ability, the Mocking Shout, the cooldown's gone down from 14 seconds down to 12 seconds. I don't think this does anything for Tryndamere, to be honest with you. Yeah, there's no damage buffs. There's nothing really crazy. It's just a healing buff and also the Mocking Shout buff. So I don't think this does anything to Tryndamere personally. I think Tryndamere is probably going to stay the same. Teemo is getting a little bit of buff as well. The passive, so the damage that you get when you auto attack, is going up. So it's scaling more now with level, and also it's scaling more with ability power. So it will give Teemo a little bit more power during the laning phase, not too much power during the laning phase, because this is mainly your level times 3, and also it scales with more ability power. So this is going to help Teemo a little bit more in later stages of the game, being more of that auto attack carry and not relying too much on the shrooms. Saying that, the shrooms are also getting buffed as well. But the big thing of why Teemo can be played and why Teemo can be strong is because of the laning phase. Teemo is a ranged champion. Auto attacks are really, really annoying because they apply poison and you can't do anything to stop the poison or anything like that. So buffing it a little bit more in the later stages of the game to make it a little bit more beneficial to go for maybe auto attack a bit more with Teemo, because I mean, to be fair, most of the time when you auto attack with Teemo, you're just going to lose the fight anyway, unless you have your blind available and you get like a cheeky kill like that. But other than that, you don't really do too much damage in the later stages of the game, so I quite like this buff. I think it's okay. The move quick, the second ability is being lowered, so it gives Teemo a little bit more mobility, down to 14 seconds now at maximum rank, which is quite nice. And then the ultimate, the base explosion damage, is going up by 25 every single rank. So just overall giving Teemo a bit more mobility and a bit more damage across the board. Might help him a little bit. I don't think it will help him too much. Uh, like I said, he's a champion that you can get ahead in the early game. Other than that, can't really do too much more. It's like you get ahead in the early game and then you kind of run out of ideas with Teemo. That's kind of how the champion works. Lee Sin, like I said, getting buffed across the board again. Look at this. Every single ability of Lee Sin is being buffed. And this is a scary buff, a very, very scary buff, because I think Lee Sin was already in somewhat of a decent position. I don't think he needed this many buffs. Like, look at these buffs. The first ability, the cooldown is going down by 1 second every single rank. The second ability, the cooldown is going all the way down to 14 seconds at maximum rank. And you have to remember, with Lee Sin's second ability, he can use this anywhere on the map. He doesn't need a ward to ward jump or anything like that. He can just use this to be super mobile. So this is a really, really scary buff. And also the first ability as well, just to use it more often and deal with that little bit more damage. The third ability, now scaling with more bonus attack damage from 100% up to 125%. Which is a really, really big buff. It's 25% buff overall. And also the cooldown going down from 10 seconds down to 8 seconds. And if that wasn't enough, the ultimate is also getting increased by 25 damage per level. So across the board, like Lee Sin is getting some crazy buffs. You know, the cooldown, the damage, everything else. I think if there's a jungler that you need to play in this next patch, it's definitely going to be Lee Sin. I think he's going to be insanely strong. Obviously, there's a bit more skill expression with Lee Sin, because you have to make sure that you go for them flashy blaze, try and kick enemies into your team and everything. But I think overall, Lee Sin is going to be great. Morgana obviously hasn't really been played that much. Morgana's not really that great at the moment. They're giving her a little bit of love. Base damage on the second ability and a Black Shield cooldown going down by 3 seconds at level 1, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, and then no second. So giving her more Black Shield opportunity in the early game is quite nice for support Morgana, and maybe this will help support Morgana a little bit as well with the base damage of the second ability. But yeah, I mean, Morgana just overall just isn't that great of a champion compared to others right now. There's just so many better supports, there's so many better mid laners, and Morgana's like, you use your ultimate and you hope for the best with your ultimate. You get some like crazy CC or something with your ultimate and crazy damage, but other than that, when you don't have that available, you kind of feel a little bit weak. Ari, the passive from takedowns, so the regeneration from takedowns, it's getting buffed, so you're going to get a little bit more regeneration now, a little bit more healing when you're getting takedowns with Ari. And then Foxfire, the bonus movement speed is going up by 5%. These buffs are not really going to do too much, just a little bit more healing and a little bit more movement speed for Ari. I think Ari is already in a fine spot. Again, very easy champion to play, very mobile, and very nice catch potential overall. And I think she was already okay, but just a little bit buffs, not really damage buffs, just more regeneration buffs and movement speed buffs. Samira, I'm quite excited for Samira changes. Obviously, Samira got buffed before, but now these are even more buffs, and these are going to be some really, really nice buffs, I feel like, for Samira. You can see there the passive, the bonus movement speed from each snack is now going from 2.5 up to 3.5, and you have to remember that this does stack as well. So if it goes from D, is it from D? So it's like D, C, B, A, S. So it's going up by like 5% when you get up to S rank. So you're going to get a lot more movement speed now with Samira if you know how to use her passive correctly, which is quite nice. Base damage on her first ability and also bonus attack damage percentage on her first ability is going up. 10% on the bonus attack damage every level, and then 5 base damage. So this is going to give her a lot more power during the laning phase. That's one thing with Samira, she is quite weak during the laning phase. She doesn't really do that much damage. Her first ability can't really be used for poke because it doesn't do a lot of damage, but now it will do because you have base damage buff and also the bonus attack damage is also going to go up, which is really, really nice. And then the ultimate, the mana consumption doesn't really mean too much. This doesn't really mean anything at all. The big thing in this is this bonus attack damage going up by 5%. So again, Really, really nice buff for Samira. It's going to give her a little bit more power. Again, I think the problem with Samira is that you have to make sure you place Samira into the right compositions because, again, as I mentioned, there's so much crowd control in the game. So if you get stopped by any sort of crowd control and use your ultimate, you're pretty much useless. And you don't want to dash into melee range because then you're just going to die again. But that's pretty much everything. I'm hoping that, like I said, everything is okay. Everything, audio levels, and you can see. I'm hoping you can see everything all okay. But like I said, I just wanted to give you all my thoughts on the new patch. And this patch is going to obviously this is the first look. This is not the official patch notes. They will go live at some point later on during the week, also with the patch as well. But yeah, pretty exciting change to the overall. I think they're actually not too bad. Let me know what you think down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next WAD video. Peace.